In the previous lesson, we saw how we can animate some drawings in our composition. And to do that, we're going to use raster graphics tools here in the toolbar. And we also saw that we have the clone stamp tool, which is similar to the one that we use in Photoshop. But there are issues on using the clone tool. Well, we need to make it movable. We need to animate that, or we can use the content aware field that we're going to see in this lesson right here. So I'm going to leave this lesson and I'm going to create a new one. So I'm going to do new project and it's going to be lesson 13 of our course. And we're going to see again how to hide part of the image that we want to hide, part of a video, but also we're going to work with the tracker to track the movement of the camera or of an element in the scene. And then we're going to use the clone tool or other hiding features. So we're going to change here the workspace from paint, which was useful in the previous lesson, to motion tracking. And let's start by getting a video inside here for a new composition. So I want to do a new composition from footage, and I'm going to get the same video of the previous lesson. I'm going to start with the same video because here I have a person that is moving right there that perhaps I want to track. So you can track an object that is moving or a person or whatever is moving in your scene, like a boat or an animal, a bird, whatever, or you can track the animation of the camera. You can see the camera here is moving from side to side. So you can track these two different types of movements in the scene. Now to track that, we need to, let me just expand this. We use the tracker. So we're gonna track the motion. Don't use the track camera because this is for 3D camera. We want to track the motion either of the object or the camera in this view. So I'm going to track the motion, and you can see here it created a track point 1. So I can click and I can move that into the position that I want. You can see it's zooming a lot to show me what I want to place that. So you want to make sure that that element is visible throughout the footage that you want to track. And you want to make sure that like you have the crosshair pointed to a really distinguishable point, and then you can adjust this like to embed the entire area or figure. So you can adjust these two rectangles here or squares, and then we need to analyze the video by clicking on the analyze forward. But before, let's get a target. So I want to create here a new layer. Could be any layer here, could be a shape, could be a text, but I want to use a solid layer just to do something really, really simple. And it's going to be 50 times 50. I'm going to say OK. And I cannot see it right here because as you can see, we are back in the layer. So we're not in the composition. This is the composition right here with the new solid layer right there. And this one here is the layer of the video. So doesn't matter. We need to be here to use the tracker, but then we will move the tracking movement into the solid. And to do that, we're going to change the target. So I'm going to click here, and you can see it automatically went into the medium royal blue solid. So I can say OK. And now I just press the analyze forward. It's going to analyze all these keyframes, all the keyframes that are in the workspace or in the composition in this case. So about 5 seconds. There you go. So you can see it's following the character there really closely. And now we can play back the video, and you can see basically that that tracker is going to follow that. Now we are in the layer. If I close the layer and we go back to the composition, if I press play, nothing is happening at the moment because I didn't apply that tracking yet. So if I go back here again into the layer, I say apply, And I'm going to use X and epsilon dimension because we are in 2D right now. This is a flat video, it's not in 3D. We're going to talk about 3D later. So I'm going to leave X and epsilon, say OK. So that is going to move, you can see, into position, and it's going to follow the movement into the X and the epsilon, so vertically and horizontally. So if I press the spacebar, you can see that solid is moving. Now, if I want to make it all the way through the composition, I need to expand. So click and drag with the left mouse, and you can see it's continuing to hide that person. Also, when the camera goes like into defocus right here, you can see we have a defocus moment. Still be able to track that movement. Now let's see what we have here again in the tracker. So if we double click, we can still see the tracker. You can also like hide this if you want from here in the layer. And also you can define another motion source if you want. Right now we're using the video. We can use more trackers. Right now we're using the tracker 1. We can change the track type into other one like stabilize, transform, parallel, corner pin, and other options. And then we can decide if you want to track the transform only in terms of position, also rotation and scale. Now for these other two, you need another track point, because if something is going to rotate, you need to have like a pivot. And also if it's going to get closer or further from the camera, we need to have another reference to determine the movement of that particular object. So we need more trackers essentially. Now, we don't need that right now, just to show you that you have other options. And of course, you can edit another target. And you have other options also right here to change the name and other tracking channels and other stuff that if you want, you can like um, study in the manual of After Effects if you want to know those things a little bit better. But let's see some like basic features. Now, together with the tracker, we also have the content aware field. And actually, there is another panel that I think is really useful right here, because when you track something, and also the camera is not stabilized here. So if I press the spacebar, you can see the camera is kind of a little bit moving. It's not still, because this is not like a professional clip. So it's kind of bouncing a little bit, and that's going to affect also the movement of that solid. So if we want to make this a little bit smoother, what we can do is apply the smoother. So decide what you want to smooth. In this case, I want to smooth here the position of this, because this is the one that all these keyframes have been generated automatically by the tracker. Otherwise, we needed to move these manually, like the clone or like any other thing. You either move it manually or you can track the movement. But you can see it's tracking like each single keyframe, so it could become a little unstable. So to smooth this out, we can open another window that is called here, sorry, not in the workspace, but down here. We need to look for the smoother. There you go. Now the smoother, we can use here the spatial path, and let's use like 5 as the tolerance and do apply. So you can see now we have a lot less keyframes, but we have a nice and smooth movement of that solid layer. So I will definitely use the smoother in many occasions. Otherwise, it's going to go like a little bit too trembling or unstable. Okay, now that we have this nice motion, we can apply that to anything, even a clone stamp that we apply there. So I can turn this off. I can use a clone in there. So let me just get closer and use the clone stamp. I want to go here, like double clicking. And let's get like this area. So Alt click